It's funny that you had a fire. All right.
Yeah.
Well, not a, yeah, anyway. So, like I said, I might not know everything we need to know, but I might be able to follow up with some research questions if there's some specific stuff to follow up with.
Are you thinking, oh, I don't have it checked out, I guess. Pull out the code and take a look at it. Yeah, so I think I don't think I have any open research questions. I think it's just like it's got to sit down and do stuff.
Okay.
But what are you thinking? Because actually that might change how we talk. If you want me to give you direction on like how to read through the code base, that's probably something I could do.
Sure.
But
Some review of what
yeah,
you've done could
okay,
be useful.
I can do that.
Like, did you use Create React app? Did you roll your own?
It
I mean, I'll be
is,
able
let
to
me
see
see.
that when I look at the file structure, but yeah.
Okay, yeah. Let's take a look here. So it's a Next.js app actually, which
Okay.
is React in the background. I don't remember if there was an app creator or not, but
Okay.
pretty much stock in that aspect. But it's using the newest Next.js,
Okay.
which apparently obsoleted a lot of documentation,
Oh, no.
but not totally. I think it was setup stuff that's now done, so you don't have to necessarily worry about that.
For LLMs, I really, especially for stuff that's newer, I'd really recommend Find because it's improved and it searches live sites. So it can find newer stuff.
Well, yeah, you can do that with GPT-4 as well.
At
But
this point, it does, it searches.
if
Oh,
you're paying
wow.
for GPT Plus, yeah.
I see. That's what, okay.
I don't think too much depends on that.
Okay.
There were some things about the structure and location of certain templates that depended on that, but not too
Okay.
important, I think.
Okay. Oh, it's been so long
You hear
since
me
I
chewing.
used
I'm
it.
sorry if you do. If so, I'll
No,
take a break.
Zoom is good.
Okay, good. Okay.
Okay.
So let's see. What is this? Okay, yeah, I was trying to do some TypeScript stuff, and I don't think it's gonna error out if there's typing problems, but
Okay. Are you
um
using Zod or are you using just like TypeScript compiles when you build? Or is it just a linter? Like, I mean, is it just in your editor?
whatever Next.js sets up for you.
Okay. Okay.
So I guess we could look at my package
That's
JSON and
okay.
see what it does with the build.
Uh, next build. Oh, that's
You can
not
mix between,
particularly useful. Yeah.
you can, I think, switch between using TypeScript files and normal JavaScript, but I tried to use typing where I
Okay.
could. Some of the typing stuff is a little confusing in
Well, there's no Zod, so I don't know any other like things that would like change, like stop you when you're running it live.
it's pretty
I
simple
may
to,
be, yeah,
okay, it is create next app, so not create
yeah.
React app, but probably just a fork there. So
Okay,
pretty simple to just try running it. I think
yeah.
when I've checked it out onto a new computer, that has not been a tricky task.
Okay.
Let's try. Just checked it out onto a new computer, so I guess I'm gonna have to do an npm install.
Okay. You have to
So one more level up.
yeah.
So I did decide to have that structure so that the website was different from the whole repo. So
Okay.
it's not doing too much important there, but
Did you adjust your build script? No, you didn't. Okay.
I just
well,
changed
whatever.
directories to the right folder.
In the config. Oh, I see.
Nope, I just did CD.
Oh. Then you, all your relative paths. Okay.
See what happens here.
Hmm.
There's a lot of mocked content here right now.
Yeah, I'm wondering what's taking it a long time. It shouldn't be
Um,
that slow. I mean, one of the big things about Next is it's supposed to be, well, maybe it's slower on the server.
So I'm building this as a static app. So
Oh,
it should be
okay.
generating static HTML. So this speed now isn't really something to worry about.
Okay.
Um,
It's just building.
yeah, I think that was just build speed. So there are a few things here that are like, I want this to actually work with what Spot is doing.
Okay.
Right now, this is just an interface with nothing wired up to it. But if I want to just basically copy this with just a nicer UI, this is kind of a little janky.
But then it's not a static app because it'll be talking to the server.
This is static. This is running in JavaScript on the front end. So we should be able to just to copy the code that's currently on this page here. This is totally static. It's hosted on S3. There's no server backend.
Okay. Well,
we just have to replicate some of this.
okay.
I think it's just matching to the category. I think that's worth doing. I don't understand why they don't match. So it won't be like literally exactly the same, but it's the same basic idea. These are simulated because I didn't have enough of a list of forms to actually do this. But the idea is for any given form, there's a topic page where you can see all the appeals forms. And this is not linked correctly, but there should be a place to click on a form and get a form landing page for each form too. So those two things are kind of just simulated right now. I did get it to work to pull some information from the actual list endpoint on a DocAssemble server. That worked. But that's not feeding this right now. And I think the fact of like having to go and edit each package, each repository and add that information, it is totally worth it. And then going forward, new interviews will already have that in place. But I think we have to like figure out some way to bootstrap it in the middle. So this is like one thing here, this form sources. There's a list of URLs. And maybe we also want to have something that's like the JSON that you get from one of those URLs.
To mock, sure.
And then just fill in that manually somehow. And manually doesn't have to be total manual.
Is that list part going to be automatic or?
It is right now. So I guess
there's
different options there, but I'm thinking until we've gotten all those built out. Until we've got those built out, I would want to. This will be the way you publish your interviews to the server, is by putting them on the list endpoint. So whether you want that, maybe we'll let people upload files to us a different way. if they really don't want to do that. But so to mirror whatever we're doing already for the temporary solution, we could say, okay, you can keep using that if you send us the file. So we'd want something like this,
Okay.
which pulls from a local file, and that has the same format of this JSON probably, although there's lots of irrelevant stuff in here, right? We just need a little bit of the metadata, like the description, the URL, and so on. We don't need the error action. You know, there's stuff that's not needed here. You don't have to reproduce, but the things that we do want, and a few new things that we started to think about.
Well, I mean, you can just pull in the object. That's not really, should be fairly simple. And then you can access whatever it's got.
I'm just thinking when we reproduce this for the placeholder content, we don't have to make placeholders for things we're not going to use.
Sure.
There is this spreadsheet. Just pause my screen share. I'm not sure what we'll see when we go to my Drive folder. I don't want on public YouTube, but probably nothing.
Okay.
Let me see here. I go to drives that are shared with me. Okay. Got it. It's on the tab on Teams, so I can get to it there. We could just take this, because the current content for Court Forms Online reformat into a
this
JSON.
was the main problem, right? Like I thought, like updating the Google Sheets was part of the obstacle. That we wanted it from a different source.
That is one of the obstacles. I'm just saying this might be fine as a placeholder for us to be able to benefit from the refreshed visual design. We could use this as a placeholder. Maybe we get 3 or 4 interview metadatas updated to make sure like that's working dynamically.
Okay.
Then we could start with this source for the remaining ones until they're actually all updated. And that might be a task we have some of the lab students do this year once we know exactly what to do, and it's a step-by-step process.
Okay.
We might have them go through and add the metadata to an interview.
Okay.
I mean, we probably could do that in a very automated way, right? Like we could just say, okay, here's the information that already is defined, fill in the things that aren't defined just yet, and build that YAML structure as well as the JSON from this spreadsheet.
Okay.
To me, I think that's the task, is to
the YAML.
Well, it could generate the YAML, not a full YAML file, but just a little YAML snippet. And then the student's task could be to copy it, review it, and put it into the proper repository.
Sure. I mean, I think there are pre-existing YAML, JSON to YAML converters that might be able to, like, we might not have to homebrew something. Just to let you know.
I think there's a specific structure for the metadata that may or may not be easily or close enough to the list JSON endpoint.
Okay.
Yeah, so, okay, so like here, this is the metadata object, right? It's under the list index. It has some parts that are up here, like the file name and the link. Some parts that are, yeah, I mean, it's pretty. We could just go right to metadata title. I don't think we need this title separate from the metadata title. And there's some parts that are duplicated there, though.
I was looking at this the other day and some things didn't match up. The list, like the metadata stuff versus the other stuff, like
where it said title here, this could be different
yeah,
from
like
this title.
sometimes when one of those things was undefined, I have to remember what it was, but when one of the things was undefined, then the like the path wasn't what I expected it to be. Maybe I'm thinking of something else. I'll have to, maybe file
These
name
can be configured
wasn't
dynamically.
what I expected it to be.
Oh.
At times. Anyway, I can try and figure out what that was when we did that. But
so it's kind of an open textured problem, I guess, in some
Mhm.
ways, because I was just experimenting with stuff. Some of this is really in the final form. Some of it is like a mock piece of content.
Okay.
Right now, like this is generated. You can see if I refresh, it's going to give a new random list.
Random. Okay.
It was just to be able to kind of see what those elements would look like
Sure.
with different number of forms, different lengths of form titles, and so on.
Okay.
This doesn't do anything, but that's just a placeholder.
Mm.
So let me see. Yeah, this is where the list of forms is supposed to come from. I don't know if it's actually, if any current code does anything with this, but I did start with having that, making sure that would work, and it did work.
Okay.
We need to figure out, we need more metadata. There's no mock-up of let me see, what a housing, is that done maybe? No. Is it done? Yeah. Most things are in the source app folder. That's a change from previous versions of Next.js.
Okay.
And then there's this layout TSX file, which I think is also a new concept in the current version of Next.js that wasn't in previous versions. Because when I was trying to look at example code that people had online, I didn't necessarily see that until I went to the documentation for the newest version. But it just seems to make sense to stick with the newest version of things. It's like,
yeah,
you don't want to start a new project that's going to be around for 3 or 4 years and use an older version of the tool. But you probably could copy stuff over. It's like, nope, that's what I want to do. I could probably make that happen.
Yeah.
It's probably not the end of the world to migrate this back to the older version.
Okay.
There were some things that were kind of a pain. I think like getting Font Awesome to work correctly was a pain. There were some things where like mixing, I think it was Font Awesome. I don't remember if it was that or something else. There's some things that didn't quite work the way that you would expect them to when you're doing a static site generation with React. Like there's ways you have to specify the order certain things are rendered that breaks things. That was something I spent a time. That was annoying. I don't remember if it was the font or something else.
Okay. Yeah. Getting CDNs and stuff into Next, I remember that being a whole headache.
Or maybe it was Bootstrap. I wanted to use Bootstrap. And I was like, I don't know if that's critical, but
okay.
Okay, here's the fake form name stuff.
Okay. Okay. Got it.
And there should be an easy way to reference the actual form names.
Like you've got one that you're doing,
Do I
or
have
like one needs to be built?
Definitely did do one, but it could be that I replaced it when I was like, okay, I want to test this.
Hmm.
I guess I figured this out. I'm pretty sure it did take me a while to figure it out. Okay, I am just building. Okay, whatever. I think it was Bootstrap that I took a long time to figure out. I could figure it out because it was something. Oh, here we go. I ended up just getting that from the CDN.
Yeah. Interesting.
It was a Bootstrap JavaScript. Some of the interactive stuff I wanted to do.
Okay. Okay.
It's a little disjointed. Sorry.
Mhm.
I think I've kind of showed off what there is.
Mhm.
I could make, if one of these things is like, I want to work on that,
Mhm.
we could try going through a little bit of it together until 12:30 when I have to sign off. I could just get that part of the code more ready for someone else to jump in on.
Yeah.
What do you think is the best way to use the next 30 minutes? I could answer questions about things that were very vague, which I'm sure it's a lot of it, but probably best to use it on things that you're like, well, maybe I'd work on that. That seems like a part I could help with.
Yeah,
Any of
I'm
this I
trying
will get
think.
to eventually. I don't think I'm blocked on it. It's just like sit down and have like, even 5 hours of uninterrupted coding
Yeah, I think most of it, I
in a
mean, it
week.
gives me ideas of what to look into next, like using the Spot API.
That could be a
Or
really discrete thing, because it's probably just copying in the code.
yeah, that's like I see as like one of the easiest wins. And then um like making those cards is one of the harder like things to implement, I think. Um
When you say making the cars, what part of it? Like getting the information to create them, or
like just
styling them?
getting them to expand and style them, and just a lot of fiddly stuff. Um but maybe you've got most of it. I don't know. I didn't quite get to see that. The other thing was like I still don't understand how you're planning to update the list differently from what I understand, you're planning to, instead of a Google sheet, you're planning to make an API request to find out the list and all its metadata, but not all that information is in the metadata. So I'm just wondering where the Google Sheet information, where you're planning for it to go.
So I think of the Google Sheet as being a transitional step.
Yes, I
So
understand. But
yeah,
where will it eventually be?
where will the real information be?
Yeah.
The goal for where we're going to store it. It's going to be in the metadata. So you can
It's
add
going to be in the
arbitrary
metadata.
keys to
Okay.
metadata. So we have to add some contingent on
Okay.
the things we want to display.
Okay.
And I started working on this inside Made. So let me see.
That was just one of the questions I had. It was unclear to me if that was the plan. That was my assumption, but
Let me just take a look and see if I've already had this somewhere. It's probably in a branch, actually. Doesn't seem like I have that branch there yet. But yeah. I maybe didn't ever upload it from my computer. So took a little while to decide like what this should be, but right, there's like this description key that I
okay.
think most of our servers have, most of our interviews rather, that clearly, right? And then we need some key to say what is the category it belongs to. And we came up with
And
a
you need the
solution for that.
translations, right?
What do you mean the
That were in the
translations?
Google Doc. That was part of what was in the Google Doc.
Maybe. I mean, this was something, to be honest, like David really wanted us to have that, but they're all auto-generated. I don't necessarily trust these. so much.
Okay.
But
But do you
yeah,
eventually want to have translations,
hmm,
regardless of whether they're auto-generated or curated?
I think if we change the language of the interview,
Okay.
um, of this endpoint, that is,
Mm-hmm.
I think it will change. I think it's respected by this endpoint. So the metadata, if the metadata block was tagged with the language, it would update the contents that we would get. So that might be the solution.
So every time they change the language, you have to fetch the data again. Okay. That's good to
No?
remember.
What? I don't understand what you're referring to.
Well, if you're going to list things in Spanish, then you have to be able to allow it to switch from English to Spanish. And if the only place the Spanish information is listed is when you make a request to the list page, then you need to make a new request for Spanish. So when you change a language, you just need
Maybe
to
there's like a
update.
missing part for how this works that didn't make sense to you. This is a static site. So we are pulling this endpoint once. Now,
That
if
is what
we,
I have been confused about. Yes.
so we do this when when we generate the static site one time. But yeah, if we want to get the different language, we have to also make a second request for the other language.
So you would load all the languages at the same time when you first arrive at the site.
It would be done when we generate the static site, which I think we'll probably do on a
Okay.
schedule. We'll say like, hey, we're going to update this once a week. If you want your new interview to get listed earlier than that on our site, we can do a manual run for you.
Does all the spot
Not,
code and data and like training data and everything, like the whole algorithm, not the training data, sorry, the algorithm, created through the training data, does that all load onto the page when you load it as well? Can we like take a look at
it's an
the,
API query. So I was trying to see if I could find where the spot stuff is.
yes, but is it an API that like /list you would download that
No,
algorithm at the same time that you
there's
downloaded
just
that
a very light um,
wrapper?
JavaScript here. Let's see if
But
it's
then
in
if it's
here.
making
Maybe
an API request, then it's not as static.
it does not have a server backend is maybe better to say than calling it static. Maybe it's a little misleading. It's like the Docusaurus site, right? Like that has JavaScript code that does dynamic stuff, but
Sure.
we generate it as static HTML and JavaScript. There's
That's
no
that's what I'm
server
asking.
backend to it.
That's what I'm asking is whether the Spot JavaScript is all downloaded.
Well, it's like a
Is
line
it
of
on the
code.
page?
It's not a giant API. It's like a line of code.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean it's we're making a query to an endpoint. We pass it the text that someone puts in the form. We get back a classification.
Okay.
So I get that's what I was confused. It's not the spot. The spot application is not running. It's just the request
Okay.
to the one API that's generated. Let's see if we can find it. Gotta be in here somewhere. I don't see, it must be inline JavaScript, and I'm not able to scroll horizontally, so I can't tell where exactly it is.
Is it called Spot?
Well, here's something called spot description, but I can't see what's on the right here. I don't know if the JavaScript is there.
There's a link.
Yeah, maybe it's this here.
There's Spot. Again, G tag event Spot.
This you're talking about?
There was something further up, but where you were before. So Spot is if you move
I see
right
here.
there.
Yeah, okay. I saw spot and I missed the G tag part. This G tag implies Google tag to me, so I'm not sure if he's just trying to get analytics on it.
Mm.
I believe GTAG. Seems like it means analytics. And here, this is just counting the number of words, which I find really busy, to be honest, on this page.
Okay. Is there a word limit?
No, there's more like a minimum.
Oh, okay.
But on other sites that use Spot, I don't know if describes the right word here. Maybe it's too complicated. But this feels like a little insulting to me somehow. But other sites that use Spot just do keyword searches if there's not enough information in the text.
Okay, maybe that needs to be built in, but that's kind of a separate,
That's a separate,
yeah,
nice to
concern.
have. My point is,
Okay.
I don't know that maybe we do want to just showcase Spot and we want to say, hey, no, you really do have to tell us something real because that's helping us improve Spot.
Yeah.
That might be an institutional goal. But I think for the usability of the site, probably some people will use this search. Other people will just see their form
Mm-hmm.
because we're showing a lot more information on these cards.
Sure.
And maybe keyword search isn't needed for that reason. So if you wanted to just implement it in a similar look, that would be fine.
Okay.
Yeah, but you know, this is like just like, hey, it may not work if you don't have at least 6 words. I don't know what happens.
Turns red. Great. Love it.
It still tries. So that's just visual, and I find that kind of cluttered.
Okay.
I mean, if we're doing like someone just types in housing here, let's see how it does. Housing is not a very long query. Will it find housing as the first result? No, it doesn't.
That's funny.
I would imagine if we have only one word, we should do a keyword lookup. I look up eviction, that's better tagged with housing. Interesting.
Mm.
And these just take you to the same place. So I don't know if the depth is useful.
Mm-hmm.
And I certainly don't want to switch to these realistic looking icons. But anyway, like, yeah, you could just copy what's there for now. It'll be fine.
Okay.
It should be easy enough if you dig into this to figure out what it's doing. Or you can just look at the actual page and copy it there from here,
Okay.
is my guess. Let's see. That might be better than what I was trying to do from the source code, because the source code is just compiling mostly static HTML. So let's see. I think there's an
Well, we're
event
gonna go to
listener
the event.
somewhere rather than
If you
being
click on
directly.
event, I don't know.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't do that much.
Like on in the
Horizon.
DOM where you've got the text area, ID text, while you've got
Oh, I
event at
see.
the end.
Countable, we don't care about. I guess we want.
Key press is probably oh, I see. Oh,
Find
you want
labels.
on submit, so you want
Yeah, I have to click on the
probably
actual form somewhere.
it's not in a form, it looks like.
The button's not an actual form.
Let's inspect the button itself.
Yeah, that's good. The div. Wonderful
Oh,
semantic HTML.
no, it's not.
I was being sarcastic.
Oh, okay.
Make a query. And then G tag seems to be, I don't know if that's Google tag or not. Just says make query. So that's why we make query function.
You probably can see that code prettier.
This is
Yeah.
not the function make query, is it? This is just calling that
Using
function
make
somewhere.
query.
So maybe it's in here
Yeah.
somewhere, but it's not in countable.js. It's not script.js. Maybe that
No,
is
it's not
imported
gonna be
from
that.
another, maybe that's from the Spot site. Maybe the code is on another static site. Let's see. I can look at
Look at sources. I think I
sources.
don't see them.
Yeah, that's
You
what I was
might
trying
have to
find.
press the dot, dot, dot and show more on the top right.
Mm, I think it is one of
It
these
would be
tabs.
settings. Yeah. It's not going to be
Network.
network. Storage, maybe?
No.
No. Okay.
Mm,
You might be able to search in there for make query. Search. Or just
Oh,
do
there it is. Okay.
Control F
Missed it.
or something.
Function make query
Is in test train. Of course, that's where it would be.
Well, anyway, we could just move this. I mean, we could just copy this.
Yeah, for sure. I was thinking I might try to link that. Okay, this just didn't seem like it was relevant, but it is. It seems to be kind of slow to load. That's not really
Just letting you know we're about 12 minutes away from your
okay.
deadline. It's been a good search.
It's a very large file, I think. So
Maybe,
when I said that it was not a lot, I was wrong. Apparently it's doing a
yeah.
lot there.
Yeah. We could copy the files there. Can you link to the, okay. Yeah.
We just gave up on loading that file. Let's see, how big is it?
Might be able to look on the site. I mean, it was able to load it. So
Yeah.
it's pretty big. It's a small scroll bar. Right click.
It's like, it's almost 700 lines. I don't know why it was so slow.
Yeah, that's not that big.
It was just doing something weird.
Hmm.
Okay, and then he's hard coded all of the HTML for the different categories into here. Oh, wait,
Okay.
what is this? That's not something we see. So maybe this can be cleaned up. There's some things that aren't used, it looks like, actually.
I don't know
This is
what
one of the
is
things that doesn't seem to be used. This
for.
something that says, yes, that's there, and no, that's not there, is not part of the actual
Add
application.
some name. So
There may be some things that were used for other purposes,
but
the
that's
same
for bulk
JavaScript.
clear. Yeah, there's like a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
I think not all of this is relevant to.
And then again, all the HTML is hard coded here with hard coded styles.
Well, we could just get response.html and parse out what we need.
Yeah,
or response and just see what's in response. Yeah.
surely there's some things what we want and some things that we
Yeah.
can just, well, maybe we want to eventually replace them.
Mhm.
Oh, and there's some hard-coded keyword matches already.
Okay. Mm.
Hard-coded results here.
Mm.
But that still didn't come up as the first category.
Yeah.
Just kind of messy code. Let's try to get stuff up quickly.
Did it say supper?
What's that?
Sorry, I thought I saw something that said supper, but I must not
Hmm.
have been right in the code. Upper. It was just a 5 next to it.
Okay. I see right there.
All right, that's fine. Whatever. I should do that, searching on my own time. Anyway. Mm. Are we going to rewrite our own? Like, are we going to take that and edit it? Or are we going to try to use what's there and get the results and modify the results?
We're not wedded to any of it. So I would say like the fastest.
I might say like, then just copy the file and make our own file and go from there.
Oh yeah, we definitely don't have to reference the other one. Like that's not even on a place we could reference. We'd have to copy it. So at that point,
Okay.
making things work the same way as that file does, I don't think is needed because it hard-coded stuff for the current version of Core Forms Online. So we
Okay.
could hard code it differently for the new one.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just
Sounds
literally
like a
whatever is
little-
faster.
Okay.
What else?
Okay. What else can we do in 7 minutes?
So Spot seems like the place where you might start, huh? Because it's like you can copy the code, just figure out how it works, and then tweak it
Yeah.
slowly over time as we want to refactor stuff.
Yeah, at least the research for that is well circumscribed.
Okay. Why don't we stop there and then we could try like another one of these. Maybe
Yeah.
I'll have a
Just
chance to
rewriting
get
other
some
people's-
stuff.
Yeah. Rewriting other people's code is also not always simple, but it can be a place to start.
No, you're right. Yeah.
Um,
Maybe it feels like the most amorphous parts of this are like converting that big blob of Google Drive content to the similar-ish JSON structure.
mhm.
So that we can get a duplicate of the current site up and running. That's kind of one of my goals, is to get like
I
to
can
refresh
write a
the look of this
converter.
one.
So I can write something that'll convert reads the CSV, converts it to a JSON object or to a YAML object. We might skip the JSON and just.
Well, the JSON is what we have the parser for right now. For what it's worth, it's not much of a parser. It doesn't have to be that much work. But
where's the parser?
let's see. Oh, it's somewhere.
That's CSS.
Yeah. No, I'm just clicking around. I wasn't
I
assuming the one I clicked on was the right thing. That would make sense. It's here. Oh yeah, let's try that. Let's visit /forms because that should show you like, there we go.
Mm.
Yeah, so this is the actual real page. I just didn't link to it anywhere. So there is code you can play around with.
Okay.
So we visit, we add /list, and then we do JSON equals 1. We get that JSON file. And then we just pull in the fields that we want. It's not very hard, I guess.
Yeah. I mean,
Probably could use
basically
more.
done. Like,
Yeah.
you just need to get different properties, that's all.
Yeah, it gets loaded. It loads everything, and we just have to decide which properties we want.
Okay, I feel that's more of a qualitative, like, you question. I
We
mean,
did
I
start
don't
doing it
know
on a
how to
coding deep
answer
dive
that.
another week and see if we've
Okay.
saved our notes there. Or if I just wrote it. I don't know where it is, if we didn't put it there.
Hmm.
We came up with list topics. That was it so far.
Okay. But
That's
those
as far
have
as we
to be
got, apparently.
added. That's as far as we got. But it said try out some keep filling in tags.
Like I wrote it down somewhere.
Yeah, but that's like how to edit the metadata. It doesn't say like what of the existing metadata we want, and yeah. So I mean, if we don't have a bunch of students who can do the conversion, we can probably write a conversion.
Yeah.
To convert to metadata, but
and it might even be worth just writing that to help them do it. There's a manual
what would
quality
they do?
control check. What would they do? Sure. I mean, I try to think of their time as valuable as ours, so if there are things we can easily save them time with, then we should do that.
Okay.
They're not necessarily getting a lot of learning from just copying, from manually doing that task. If it can be done by a computer, we probably should.
Okay. So there's like 3 main things here. There's the cards, there's Spot, and there's the Google Sheet conversion. And so maybe we should write these notes in the deep dive notes, but
sure, we can do that.
Spot. That and okay. All right, I'll think about that. I'll see kind of what's on the queue.
Yeah, I hadn't thought of this as being like, here, this is ready for someone else to jump in on yet, but it is so stalled. Like, as you see things, there's like, I need you to spend an hour to get this ready for me to figure out what to do, because it's too vague or poorly defined now. Just let me know and I could try that.
Sure.
Because I do want this to get done.
Like, I mean, the cards I think need to be, the desired behavior needs to be, I think it's clear what it needs to, like, you just want to be able to see more items, but there's like 2 parts there. One is like the UI, right? And the other part is like UI cards data,
Data is easy enough to get.
Yeah, that's already being gotten. The UI is just a matter of making those elements appear, but it's going to take hooks and stuff. So,
yeah, I mean, I'm comfortable with just saying we just show some, and we show, and then we have this. We don't have a +2 button. We just have a click here to see rest and category. We can do this progressively.
Sure. I mean, if it went to a different page, then it wouldn't need it.
That's my point. Yeah, the other page could be the solution. This does go to another page now when you click on the whole card. Anywhere, actually. Okay. They all do the same thing. So there's room there. Okay. All right. Well, I
Okay.
got a student meeting, but
All right. I'll see you next time.
yeah.